Welcome to the She Slays the Day podcast with Dr. Lauryn Brunclik. Direct, soulful, comedic, advice for female chiropractors' most stagnating questions. Let's talk business, marriage and relationships, momming, and self-development. Here's your host, Dr. Lauryn Brunclik.
All right, everyone, this is the She Slays the Day podcast, and I am your host, Dr. Lauryn Brunclik. And today we have Kirby.
What?
So this is the last episode of the year, right?
Yep.
Will there be one more? No, this is it.
This will go out, yeah. And then we'll do like a recap or a best of. That'll happen like the 2nd or the 1st of January.
Mm-hmm. That one's gonna be a lot of work for you.
Yeah.
Not so much for me.
You're not gonna get in the editing booth?
No.
You're not gonna learn Adobe Auditions?
No. I had someone ask me on Instagram, sometime last week, like, how do you and Kirby plan out, like, what you're gonna say on the podcast? And I said, well, he just does whatever I tell him. No, so I thought it would be funny.
I just build up resentment, and then it just comes out in entertaining
I
format.
thought it would be entertaining to tell people how, like, we decide, like, what an episode's going to be like. So we only record on Fridays. I don't think we've ever recorded an episode together. I've definitely recorded not on Friday. But we only record Friday afternoons. And typically I've saved a question that I know I would need your advice on.
Yep.
So, like, the boring questions.
Yeah, the ones that require thought.
Somebody
careful
says, like,
analytical consideration.
how did you pay off your loans? I don't know. I have no idea. And then, so we live in a town, very small, 9,000 people.
Yep.
And there's, like, one really great restaurant. There's, like, 3 really great restaurants to get
the best one. Shout out to Layman's.
Shout out to Layman's. Kevin, our bartender. We always sit in the bar because it's got a better atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then he tries giving us, like, those paper placemats that you would put food on, and then we just start writing on the placemats. And we start planning out.
So when you hear that ruffly noise,
yeah, that's a placemat.
That's a paper placemat
from Layman's with all our content on it.
And that's not the first time that's happened.
But Jenna Kritcher talks about how she, like, records in a closet. So I think the fact that our podcast notes are on a lunch paper placemat makes us legit, because we're not legit.
This is going to be like that story that I don't know if it's really true or not, but, like, they say that Picasso would draw on, like, bar napkins and hand them to people sometimes. Like,
should I just, like, randomly start doing podcast outlines and, like, hand them to people?
5 tips to have a stress-free 2020. You slide it to someone.
I save them, though. This drawer right here is
awesome.
full of all of our napkins and shit. So yeah, and then we usually do it in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. So Kirby can drink a gin and soda.
It's not. The gin and soda happens to be being.
It's like a Friday cocktail.
It's a Friday afternoon.
Yep, and that's why we only record on Fridays, because if you recorded on a Tuesday, we could still go to lunch, but I have to go to work.
Yep.
So.
And it would be weird for me to be drinking on a Tuesday in the middle of the day.
But it's not on a Friday.
No, I work very hard.
Let's be honest, the only reason I'm not drinking is because we're going to the gym after this. And one of us can stay on a treadmill when we've been drinking, and one of us cannot. So, I'm drinking.
It makes the rowing machine feel like a real boat.
Kirby's just puking in the corner.
Oh, seasickness. I don't have my sea legs yet. Sorry about that.
Or some, like, super ripped guy. Like, you just, like, think, it looks like you're just lifting really, really heavy. And it's like, nah, he's just drunk.
He's just drunk. He's just starting his workout. He's not. You didn't push too hard.
Oh, all right. Well, let's get the episode going so I can go to the gym sober. You don't get too much time to drink. So, review.
review.
Yeah.
We got a new one this week, and it's an awesome one, so we're going to go with that. Do you want to read it, or do you want me to?
You read it. I don't... Yeah.
All right, this is from Dr. Elise, and she says, Dr. Lauryn nailed it by starting this podcast.
Yes, she did.
She is extremely relatable, transparent, and answers the burning questions that so many... You just gonna hype man this entire thing?
Yes!
Answers the burning questions that so many female chiropractors have been dying to ask. Her podcast provides an outlet for women to ask vulnerable questions without judgment. And quite frankly, she brings guests on who have been there, done that, and designed a course for it. The content and advice provided is invaluable and life-changing. Keep rocking it, Lauryn.
That's a hell of a review.
It's a really good review. I'm really glad that you dictated that to me and then told me to make a new Apple ID and submit that.
Lies. I should send Elise stickers. I don't know if we have her address, so I'll have to track her down on the internet. Who are you? Send her some free stickers, because that's an awesome review. And I didn't even have to pay her.
That's awesome.
Because that's illegal. Actually, it's illegal in the... Okay, I guess it's only illegal in the chiropractic world.
Oh, to pay for reviews?
Yep. So then I would go like, well, if it's illegal in the chiropractic world, why would it not be illegal in... It's
more a question of business ethics, I think.
Business ethics.
Do you know a movie that's actually
Don't say it. I want to know if anybody else knows. I mean, I know they can't tell us right now. But if you know, then shoot us a DM when you're listening to this, because...
Then yell it out loud while you're running. You'll be like, why are they shouting strange Adam Sandler movies?
You gave them a giant clue.
It's just a clue, though.
You're the... All right. Let's move into She Slays Savings. You say it.
She slays savings.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Say it 7 times fast. No. Okay, so this week we are talking about our 2 She Slays savings that we have going on right now. So one is my favorite chiropractic artiste, Sandy Spines. So if you haven't checked out her Etsy store, move on over there. Get yourself something nice for your clinic. So just really, really, really beautiful musculoskeletal paintings that will look very nice hanging in your clinic or on your desk or on your hydro flask. She's got some sweet stickers. And if you use promo code SheSlays, you will save 10% off your entire order.
How many people do you think are wanting to order that already? And
wait, the hydro flask?
No, the Sandy Spines prints. And they're like, no, but I think my husband knows. I told him that's what I want for Christmas. So I can't order him now because I think he's going to get him for me. I bet like she gets an uptick of orders after Christmas of people being like, I hope my significant other or my office staff like knows I want that. And then like they don't pick up the hint and they're like, fine, I'm just going to buy it myself. Do you do that with things?
Is this your way of saying you bought me a watercolor from Sandy Spines?
No, I bought you. I mean, I have bought you one in the past, but I'm just saying, like, would you, like, I think that happens.
Yeah, except my staff asked what I wanted for Christmas, and I said a plant. I want a plant.
And if they don't buy you a plant, you're going to go buy a plant after Christmas because you want a plant.
Yes. So, yeah. Huh. I kind of refrain. Yeah. Like, I need a new water bottle. And I'm holding off because I'm waiting to see.
Oh my gosh, here's a cliffhanger for the listeners. You get to find out next week if Lauryn got the water bottle.
So I showed up to, we're eventually going to get to this episode because it's a really good topic. So I showed up to work with my new sweater from American Eagle on Monday, and I was wearing like white tennis shoes, and my front desk people says like, all you need is a scrunchie, and you were like rocking the Visco girl thing. And then it made me go like, oh man, am I fighting aging a little too hard? Like, you know what a Visco girl is, right? We've talked about this.
I feel like our team has talked about it, and I've been like,
so it took me forever to wrap my head around this.
Water bottle and stickers or something?
Yeah, okay. It's the way that people describe it. It's basically a stereotype of a certain, so think of it like back before hipster was a commonly used word.
Okay.
It would be like if somebody said like, oh, he's a hipster. And then people would be like, what's a hipster? And they would go like, well, like they have beards and they wear flannels, and like that's how hipsters started.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So like that's what it's like a new term for.
What's Visco stand for?
I don't freaking know.
Okay.
very shallow. No, I don't know. I get column blood. So I think it tends to be like a lot of like Instagram. I don't know. We're just two old people talking about new trends. But it made me wonder like, oh, shoot. And I totally asked for a hydro flask for Christmas. Am I too old to own a hydro flask? I don't know, but I'll be excited if you got me one. But I'll understand if you chose not to.
You'll post it to your TikTok.
Oh, yeah. Wait, what? What's a TikTok? Oh, yeah, I've seen the kids. I've seen the kids doing that. Whatever.
Anyway, what other savings do you have?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm glad you remembered that's what we were doing. Because I'd have been like, oh, okay, so what's next? Okay. So that's the Progressive app by Connected and Inspired Media. This is the app that our clinic started using earlier this year. And it's fantastic, especially if you are a prenatal and pediatric-based clinic. It's full of stretches and exercises for pregnancy, brain exercises for kids. It's really cool, and it makes your clinic look legit because you have all this pre-recorded content available to your patients, and it saves time. So, boom, use promo code SheSlays, and you will save 20% off your first month.
They are awesome. If you're a big clinic, it's easy of like it's an added thing for your people, even though you have like you look fancy and great already. But if you're a small clinic, I think especially, it is like, whoa, these guys are super legit. They have a whole app. Like, that looks fancy.
It looks fancy as fuck.
Fancy as fuck. I think that we should get them to change their like slogan.
Yeah.
Progressive Inspired
Ashley,
Media.
I know you're
Fancy as
listening.
fuck.
Let me know if you'd be open to that. So, okay. Let's pray.
Okay.
And then let's get on with this.
Get into it?
Get into it.
All right. Dear Lord, thank you for the opportunity to share our experience and our life with so many great people, so many great chiropractors, so many great small business owners. Help us to send a good message, a message that people need to hear. Help us to remember that as we try to define success and as we look back and as we look forward, so often we put success through our lens and we ask you for what we want, or we ask for guidance, but we want guidance on the path that we think we should go down. Help us to be still enough and quiet enough to hear your true voice, to understand that worldly and material success so rarely are a path to you, and often are an obstacle. Help us to listen and to know and to hear you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. That was good.
Thanks. I just came up with it.
You just came up with it. Awesome. Okay, so this episode, like you probably kind of gathered from the title, is... So it's not really, this one's not answering a specific question from someone, but it's just a very timely
It's based on like conversations that everyone is having now, that we've been having, that is just, if it is, I mean, especially now that when the episode drops, it's the week between Christmas and New Year's. Mm-hmm. Every post you're seeing is a remembrance of the past year, the past decade, and all of the posts about moving forward, looking forward, going forward.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even realize we were entering a new decade.
Oh, that's like, it's...
Oh, that's why people are doing the 10-year challenge?
Oh, I was going to say it's the time of the ultimate dad joke of like on the 30th to 31st, you can be like, I'll see you next decade. I'm not going to do it. I'm resisting it.
You just basically did it to hundreds and hundreds of people.
I was mocking it.
Oh, yeah.
That didn't count.
Ironic kid. Okay, so this is basically us talking through reflecting 2019, not like our personal year, but like this is for a boss or a small business owner or someone who is looking back at 2019 and then looking forward to 2020. Now, we're going to get a little more specific because this isn't, you can't have a reflect and look forward that is going to resonate with 100% of people.
Yeah.
And we had a unique year, and so we're just using our experience to build, an episode that's more what we're going through.
And I think it's helpful of if you... So let's say like kind of what it's not is it's not for... This isn't like a helpful hints for someone who's been crushing it for the last 5 years, crushed it this year, has tons of bandwidth, only sees blue sky, and is like, yeah, let's just celebrate all the wins and keep the wins rolling. Like,
yeah, for that, like, somebody who had a great year and they go like, okay, can you commit 10 to 25% more energy for 10 to 25% more growth and more new patients in this next year? The person who's like, heck yeah, I got 25% more energy to give. Not for you. Not for you. You just go on with your bad self.
You record a podcast and send it to us.
Keep on rocking in the free world. Right?
Yeah, that is a song.
That's a random. Also, not likely, although I think anybody can get anything from this, but like, if you're somebody who didn't try in 2019 and you're like, yeah, I should probably start trying.
Yeah, if you've just been kind of coasting and like kind of shit hit the fan maybe, but you're like, yeah, I know exactly what I need to do, but like, I just gotta get off my butt and do it. Yeah, that's not really for that either.
I think they would get something out of this though. Okay, so this is let's talk about who it's for. So this is for somebody who, when you're looking at 2019, it didn't quite turn out how you thought it would. We're going to be looking at it through a professional lens. And I know from I'm somebody who plans and envisions and has expectations and goals. I mean, for everything, whether it's a half marathon or my kid's birthday or an entire year of productivity for my business, our business, sorry.
That's my goal for 2020 is for you to start calling it our business.
Oh, geez. But I am somebody who has these expectations, and then when things don't turn out exactly the right way, it can struggle, or I can struggle with like that control aspect of like realizing I don't have control, but then you take and go like, okay, well now plan next year. And that's what can be really hard, is when you're sitting here in December and you're like, well, 2019, I was going to run a half marathon and I strained my Achilles after training in 2 weeks, so I didn't run it all the rest of the year. Or like, I didn't even see that, major audit coming. And so we kind of flatlined financially after that, or, all these things that you were like, oh, I did not, when I was looking in 2018, when I was planning 2019, didn't see that coming, nor would I have wanted that type of thing to come. And so now then, there's all this talk, like you said, Kirby, that this is what the chatter is of like, 2020 is going to be better. It's going to be great. And if you're somebody sitting here going like, I mean, I freaking hope so, but like, I'm trying to let go of 2019 and lie to myself that I'm excited about 2020 when I'm just scared it's going to be a repeat or something like that. Yeah.
And to give a little backstory, personally for us, like we had a year, so we've always grown as a clinic and grown substantially. Mm-hmm. So we've always had pretty big growth goals. And it feels, especially like knowing that so many businesses close and so many people are having such financial trouble, it feels, kind of noting the woe is me here. Like, we didn't have a great year. Like, we were slightly down in revenue, but slightly down on a pretty big business. So we missed our growth goals is the biggest thing. But by no means are we saying,
we didn't have, there's a lot of people.
I don't want anyone throwing a pity party for us.
No, please don't.
But it's a new thing for us to confront because like we said, of like, when we said who it's not for, it's kind of been us for 8-9 years of business is like, well, we grow and we always grow and we grow at big percentages and we keep growing and then we hire more people and we build new clinics and we keep doing. So it's interesting reset for us to have like a stagnant year. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where a lot of this comes from is like, where do we go from here? What do we learn? What do we do? Well,
and a mentor that I had a couple of years ago, talked about, he's a big business guy. He wasn't a chiropractic guy. Although he helped chiropractic. And, he would just talk about how like, 10 to 20% growth every single year it's not how business, like you're going to have years that fluctuate and it may be more of a stagnant year, or you may drop 5%, but then like, and so it's just kind of dealing with like, we've been in practice now 9 years and kind of maturing and evolving as a business of like, oh, not every, I mean, it's kind of like a half marathon of like, I can't PR everyone. Otherwise I'm going to go insane.
Yeah, I'm sure that's like as athletes become elite, like they start to go like, oh, I won everything through high school and then I was really great in college and then I get to like the next level and it's like,
what do you mean
what do you mean I can't be the best all the time? So no, it's been an interesting year, but like that's where a lot of this like looking back and like reflecting and figuring out what's going on when it's not all roses is kind of coming from for us.
Yeah. Okay. So kind of the first step in allowing yourself to let go of something that didn't go as you thought, and then motivate yourself and get inspired to be optimistic about the future, is you do have to look back and reflect and process what happened. Mm-hmm. And I do really want to try and talk about this in a broader lens than just like, so you didn't make the money you thought, because like this could be in so many different aspects of life. It's really like you set a big goal and it didn't go how you thought it was going to. You didn't meet that goal. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's money.
Well, and I would say even with money, I think one of those, I think probably the same mentor you're talking about who's a business advisor said like, you're setting goals, but like, you have to understand what's behind it. If you said, I want to see, 50,000 people this year, if you started giving away free adjustments, you could see 50,000 people. If you said, I want to make $1 million this year and you were only going to make 750, but you started selling drugs on the side, you might be able to get to that $1 million mark. Like there's always something deeper behind all of your goals. So like that idea that you may have missed a goal, but you can't just only look at that one thing. Mm-hmm. You have to look back on multiple aspects of your business, of your life, to get a full picture of your year, what you did poorly, where you fell short, but also where you might have won or learned something new that you didn't really see when you were so microscopically focused on just revenue or just new patients or just new business if you're not a chiropractor.
Yeah. So I would definitely take time, literally schedule a morning or a couple hours, go to a coffee shop with all of your numbers and look at the wins. You might, you can jog your memory by going through Facebook but look through your photos and look for the wins in this area. So within the business, what was your best financial month or two? What were your best new patient months or new clients? What were, of the events you did, which ones were the most highly attended? Which ones did you have the best conversion to becoming new patients?
If you had a big marketing campaign or an ad or a post that went viral or something where it's just like, what was that thing that you can look back and go like, that was solid.
Yep. And look for those common themes that are seen in those, because you're going to want to make sure that you do more of that. Like if it was something that was working, if I'll just go back to running. Like if I look back through, because on my app that I use for running, at the end it asks like, how did it go? And if I were to look back at the ones that was like my pacing was my best and I was like, yeah. I don't have this amount of data, but I might go like, okay, well, it looks like most of my runs were done, when the temperature was between 20 degrees and 40 degrees. It was,
Yeah, or they were the best when I did them at mid-morning instead of first thing in the morning or whatever. Like those patterns you can find. And I would say beyond looking for just the wins of the big things, try to find what was surprising to you in the year. Of like, if you are a very rigid and like you plan out all your social media and then the one thing that actually got way more likes or the event that was way better was the one you kind of threw together at the last minute, or was kind of your post was really raw and authentic and you go like, oh, weird, maybe that's what people like.
Because we want to try and control the success of something and we don't have all the information. Like we don't, and so yeah, definitely look for those surprises and really analyze. Like if you thought something was going to go viral and it did, great. If you thought an event was going to be like amazing and it did, but definitely analyze those ones that you're like, what was so unique about that? Because that's an area that you can definitely grow and become better in, because if it's surprising to you, you're obviously not naturally going to do a lot of it. And so like pick it apart and be like, okay, I was vulnerable. I didn't sell,
Yeah, whatever it is that's different, that's surprising, that's usually an area to mine.
Yep. Okay, so then unfortunately, you have to look at your losses. Now, I'm somebody who is futuristic, so I don't like to look back. Like but it is super important on years where the outcome wasn't what you expected or hoped. You have, in order to learn from it, but like I'm just somebody who just wants to be like, yep, you're dead to me.
And I'm a dweller of like, if you said I look at the losses, I might get lost spiraling and looking at all the losses and thinking about them and getting in that mood. So I would say with both the wins and the losses, a big thing is you can listen to this podcast and that's great, but the actual exercise is to physically go to look at your numbers, to go back through your calendar or through your posts, and then to write down what was your surprising or biggest wins and losses, biggest surprising events or marketing campaigns that did go well, didn't go well, and actually write them down. Because if you are someone who does dwell and spiral on things, being able to write it down, know that that thought is down on paper, and check it off instead of like keep coming back and being like, oh yeah, and February was terrible, and you just keep coming back to it. So write it down, but be ready to move on too.
Yep. And some of these things when we're looking back, we should have said like another person who's going to get a lot out of this. Maybe you had an amazing year, but like, you did reach your goals, but now most of the time a business doesn't go like, okay, so now you're going to do the exact same thing. Like, no, we're all looking to 2020 or and that's it. We
to be 2020er.
We are faster. We are skinnier. We are making more money. We are working less. We are traveling more. Like that is the society we live in, that when we're looking forward, we're picturing bigger, better, more. And that's a whole different podcast episode in itself. But that's going to require more energy. And so if you're the person who was like, yeah, I hit my goals. Holy shit, I have nothing left in the tank. And you want me to do 20%, or I'm asking myself.
I was whipping my team to help me get to that goal at the end, and they got a big bonus. But Les, as we plan to next year, and I say 10% more than that, if they look at you like,
are you nuts?
Did you hire 6 more people?
Yeah.
Like, if you're that person too, I think this is a really valuable thing as well.
Okay, so speaking of team, in your reflecting back on 2019, and you're looking towards 2020, we're going to really need to look through your team and make sure that, one, just the number of people you have is appropriate. So many people want to wait to make a big move, like a hire, when they get a little bigger. It's usually like, okay, I'm going to hire that associate once I get to 200, but they're like capped at 175 and they just can't. And it's like, in my experience, the universe forces you to kind of take that risk first. Like you think you have more in you than you do. And so it's like, oh, I can get to 200 by myself. And it's like, the universe is like, no, you actually can't. Because anytime you get up to 200, you're mean to your kids, you stop working out. And so like universal energy pulls that back and is like, So.
And just the pace of, so you want to get to that next level. I was just talking to a friend about this where he was talking about like, well, I don't know if I love this job, but it pays really well, but I want to eventually do this other side career. And I asked him like, well, how fast could you replace your income if you like quit your job, went whole hog into that? And he's like, probably within a year or two, but like for a year, it would really suck. And I said, well, how, if you're doing it as a side gig while you were working full time, how long would it take you to build up to where you could easily step away when you basically had double income, and then you could get rid of the one job. And he's like, oh, that would take like 6 or 7 years. And I was like, do you want to keep do you want to keep calling me and complaining and keep saying to your wife, like, I hate this for the next 7 years? Yeah. And he's like, yeah, that's a good point.
So making sure you have enough people. And are they the right people? So, I mean, that sucks.
Yeah, that's a bit of a come to Jesus moment of just like, because you know instinctively a lot of what your business needs.
Yeah, if you're thinking right now as we said this and you're like, oh, shoot, Jessica. If your subconscious just said a name in your office, not a good sign.
By the way, caveat, you can't say Jessica is a negative thing when one of our employees is
shit,
Jessica.
I forgot we have a Jessica. Oh, I call her Jess.
I know, and she's great. Jess, you are listening. Holy cow. Trying to give her a heart attack?
I know. The poor little heart exploded. We are not in that case, so we should say
we love our team. This is the happiest I've ever been with our team ever.
Absolutely, and we'll talk about that at the end when we're talking about, like, you know, how we felt inspired about 2020.
Yep.
So it was the first
Jeff.
name that came to mind, like Deborah. I use Deborah all the time as like a Debbie Downer.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to think of. Yep, so poor Jess.
Jess.
So anyways, make sure that you have the right personalities in the right roles and you have enough hands. So then look at your energy suckers of the year. Like, what were the biggest drains on you emotionally, physically, both in the professional and personal world?
And I would say there's different categories of this, of like, one is like the one-time things that you use to understand your year. And then there's a different category of ongoing. So if you had like a one-time thing of like, you had a death in the family that like really took you out of the game and you needed to be there and you were just out for 3 months and the numbers suffered and you had to have a relief doc or you had to, you know, close your business or whatever. And that's why your numbers are down. Understanding that and giving yourself grace. Like that's a whole different ball game, or something happened in your region or your town or whatever. Like those are things that are good to understand, but you don't need to react crazily to. You just know that you process, know what you need to do in the future and move on, versus the ongoing energy suckers. Those are the things that...
The ones you have control over.
Yeah, the things that you can change about yourself, about your team, about your business. Those are the things that you really want to focus on, you know, as we talk about moving forward and what you're going to do. Those are the things to like really note down and go, okay, I identify, I realize I've seen this coming. I know this is what's affecting me.
And I want to dig just slightly deeper here with the energy suckers because, like, so for instance, social media, we know, like, it just, people are like, oh, it's an energy sucker. Yes. But you can analyze a little more of like, in our town, Instagram is not a big thing yet. Facebook sucked a lot of our energy, but Facebook delivers.
Yep.
Whereas we don't spend a lot of time as a clinic on Instagram because just our population, like, I believe if I'm spending energy on something, it's either fulfilling me or like spiritually and like energetically wise, or it's leading to a sale.
Yeah, energy sucking is a deficiency of return, basically. Like, sleep isn't an energy sucker. You spend a ton of time sleeping, but you need it. Working out isn't an energy sucker. It gives you back more than you actually put in. It's that thing of like you were saying with Facebook, we put in a ton of time, but that actually had a return on investment. Whereas, you know, in the past we played around with like Snapchat, which in our town is, especially for our target market of 25 plus women and moms, I would say less than 0.5% of the people in our town in that demographic are using Snapchat and especially not engaging with businesses on it.
Right. I was going to say, I think most of our team is on Snapchat.
Yeah, but they aren't doing any business there.
No, you made it sound dirty.
Sorry, guys, I didn't mean it that way.
Okay, so looking for those. And then lastly, when you're looking back, it's really important to assess the major bottlenecks or biggest limitations that you had. And not all of them need to be corrected. So, for instance, one of our biggest bottlenecks to new patients is we're out of network with the state Medicaid. And I just found out yesterday that one of the elementary schools in town, 60% of the kids are on a free or reduced lunch. So like we don't live in a rich area and we don't take the state insurance. And so like that sucks. It's one of our biggest bottlenecks for new patients is a mom will call and say like, do you take Badger Care? And we're like, no, but we have great. And it's like,
yeah, I mean, and in that situation, the best thing you can do is ease the path for what you can offer, and then you maximize that, and you address it, and you understand like this is an unavoidable bottleneck, and we need to move on. But if you're the person sitting there going like, I can never grow because my space is too small, or you're a small business owner with the same problem, like, and no matter how good your marketing gets or how good your delivery systems or whatever, no matter what, your space is too small. Like that's a big thing to know. And kind of in that same way with like the team thing, when it's like, is your team the right team? Do you have the right people? Do you have the right skills? This is usually one of those things that like, if you're envisioning the future and this problem has to be solved for that future state to exist, like that's the thing.
So a good exercise here is, because what gets in the way of a lot of people like fully acknowledging how they're like, I don't know if my space is too small. Like, I don't know if it is. And like, okay, because what they don't want to do is they don't want to find a new place. They don't want to have to market they moved. They don't want to have to change their address with all the insurance companies. They don't want to physically move. And so instead I go like, all right, so let's say it's a small space that they're wondering. I would say like, okay, I want you to picture yourself 7 years from now, like well into the future, and you are seeing, so let's say they're seeing 150 people a week, and they want to be seeing 300. And I go, okay, so let's say it's 7 years from now. You're seeing your 300 people a week. You're seeing 400 people a week. Is it in this space? And if they go like, oh no, in my mind, 7 years from now, I'd eventually moved.
Yeah, they can like go.
There's your sign.
Yeah, and that's the same thing with like people or whatever too.
Oh yeah.
Of like if you go like in 7 years from now and you're growing and you're getting better and you're serving people better, is that person with you? And if you're like oh,
no, she's gone by then it's like, you're really just delaying the hard work because you don't want to do it now, and you're hoping that future you will have some balls.
You know what it is? It's kind of the reverse of the spouse question of like before you get married. Like, you have a better idea that you're with the right person when you go like, can you see a future 10 years from now where they're not in it? And you go like, oh no, they're part of my future. And it's like, I think you're with this person. I think
I had no idea where you were going with that question, because I think that's an exercise that only guys have to go through to like get over commitment issues. No,
oh, really?
No, this is like I think that's a commitment issue that like guys need to be like, tell each other of like, all right, dude, you might need to marry this one. And they're like, I don't think I can. And it's like, okay, can you picture not being with her? And they're like, no. Like, all right, I think you're going to have to get some balls and marry her.
Actually be a real person.
No woman relates to that.
Oh,
like,
sorry.
Wait, what? No, it's funny. It's totally funny, but it's just like, I had no idea where you were going. Like, what? Can I picture? I mean, right? No, of course not. But yeah.
Well, I learned something today.
All right. So we've kind of covered reflecting back, right?
Yeah, there's a lot to look back on, and it's I mean, like I said, it's a thing that I think it helps to actually write it down so that you will have these tools, these bullet items for the next big thing we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I actually like the idea. So if it's obvious, like if you can get away, if you're like, oh gosh, this reflecting this is totally what's been going on. Like, duh, this is what I need to do. Great. If you're kind of looking at stuff like, I can't really figure out what thing was the thing. Like, if you're struggling there, then journal about it. Journal through each of these questions and like set a timer for 3 to 5 minutes. And each one of these things, like what were your wins? What did you do right? Who were you at your best? And just start journaling. And don't think too much about it. Just keep writing. And then go through the, like, what about at your worst? What was showing up? What are your biggest limitations? Then what happens is when, like, a half hour of journaling and writing, then you go back and look through that, like, stream of conscious. You're likely going to see a lot of the same words showing up.
Yeah, I kept saying this, and I didn't even realize it. I kept writing, yeah. And I know so many of our listeners are probably on the smaller end of small business, so it may just be like you and a front desk person. But like if you have a team, you, especially as you get bigger, going through some of these exercises with your team is going to bring you information that you didn't know. When you say, you know, July was our best month and what was going on there, you might be going like, okay, well, I know what I was doing, and I know that I was, you know, adjusting more, or I was in the office more, so maybe that's the key. And then they go like, we did this other promotion, or we signed on those 6 families or that big client, and that's what happened. They're going to give you insight, and they're going to have a different read on it than you are. So it's a really helpful exercise to go through something like this with your team, assuming they're the right team and they're going to have insightful feedback.
Yeah. Definitely. So those certain things will surface that definitely need to be tackled. You know, that if you don't figure out a plan to change, to improve, you're definitely running the risk of being in the same boat, end of 2020, not getting the results you wanted.
And if you're the kind of person who keeps any kind of records or journals or has resolutions every year, go back and look at your resolutions, and if you've had the same resolution or the same like action item for the past 2 or 3 years, that's probably one of your bottlenecks. That's probably the thing.
Shut up, Kirby.
Oh, I have some.
Shut up. So I want to lose 10 pounds.
Oh God, don't. That's.
But if you look back and go like, all right, well, what did I do to achieve it? What did I not do? You know, if you don't make any of those changes, don't expect a different outcome. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. All right. I thought you were going to say more, and you just shook your head and went, mm-hmm.
Well, I want to get into the deeper thing of like, when we were talking about how what you're focusing on may not be what ultimately you want. So like a 10 pounds thing is a great example of, you can say, I want to lose 10 pounds, but then you work out all year, you get stronger, you look better, and the scale's the same. And you go like, oh, I want to lose 10 pounds. It's like, no, the pounds wasn't the thing. You want to look better, be healthier, feel better about yourself. That can be approached in multiple ways. 10 pounds is a simple line in the sand, but it's not the actual goal.
Yeah, doesn't
mean anything. It's the finger pointing at the moon. It's not the moon.
Okay. Side note. I don't know what that phrase means.
We'll talk about it. It's really big in philosophy things of like religion is like the best example of all religion is trying to get you to a connection with God, and God is a undescribable, kind of almost by definition, like any God who can fit into a box of description isn't God. It isn't. You couldn't put God into a thing. But people get obsessed with religion. They get obsessed with rules. They get obsessed with doing the right things within the words of their religion. And they forget that religion is the finger pointing at the moon. So like the moon is the big thing, but the moon is God. It's this thing that is so big and so crazy, but you get so focused on the tiny little finger pointing at it. Religion's guiding you towards it, but you get obsessed with the finger and forget the moon.
Okay.
You get it?
Yes, I do. I understand it more than I did a minute ago.
Okay.
It's still like, so does it matter if, okay, never mind. We're going to move on. Okay. So, next, when you're looking forward, you're going to, like we said, certain things are going to surface. Then you gotta kind of tackle that big one. The big, hairy, scary goal. Or the big, hairy, scary bottleneck. The like, all right, because, you know, we're saying, don't expect change if you're not going to do, you know, something different. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if it comes down to, like, shoot, we got to move. Like, I recommend picking really only one big thing, maybe two, like if you got to move and fire someone, but do them...
Or at least, like, make progress of, like, you know, with something like we're going to move locations and, you know, we need to move locations and it needs to happen for us to succeed. It may not be, all right, it's January 1st, like, let me go sign a new lease January 2nd. It might be going, well, the only way I can move is if I have a down payment for another space, or if I find someone to take over my current space as this, you know, sublease or whatever. Start creating your plan to have your path forward so that you have an actionable item to keep stepping towards that. Because especially with big things, and usually these bottlenecks, the things that like build up over time are big things, you need to break it down into small chunks. You may not be able to sign a new lease, have more money, pay for 2 rents at once. That's scary. But what you can do is make a phone call to a real estate agent and say, I'm in the market for this. I'm starting to save. You can call your banker and say, I need to know what I can afford so that I'm making a smart plan. But you need to know what your big bottleneck is and what your big goal is for you to start breaking it down into smaller chunks that you can start acting on.
Yeah, that is a big thing that I ask people to do of like, you know, so often we sit and we're like, God, I really want you, like, I'm looking for a building, like, I know we should can you give me a sign that we need to be in a bigger space? Like, they're afraid to move forward. They're afraid to make any action because they want, like, God to tell them, like, this is what you're supposed to do. But the story, you know, is that, like, you're standing on, basically, picture, like, you're standing on a beach, looking at a sea of water, asking God, like, part the sea, like, show me that this is the direction. You know, I know you're capable. I know you're powerful. And the whole time God's going, like, get your ankles wet. Yeah. Like, I want to see you take that first step, and then I will line shit up for you. But I'm not good. You have to take some action first. So maybe, you know, if you're sitting back and going, like, oh, I just really want this perfect employee, maybe God's going like, well, you have to place an ad. Back when I coached for that coaching company or whatever, I remember this conversation. So I would get on calls, I think it was twice a month. Yeah, twice a month with a group. And so, like, I'm so action-oriented that I would be like, okay, so there was this guy who, he could barely ever make the calls because he was so busy. Like, he was just exploding with growth. And I remember saying, like, you know, this is fantastic. You need to be taking action so this continues. Otherwise, what's going to happen, like I said in the beginning of this episode, otherwise the universe goes, you're obviously a hot mess. I'm going to stop giving you new patients. Like, one thing is going to... And so I said, like... And he's like, I know, I need an associate. I just don't have time to even get one. And I was like, okay, I need you to, like... And he's like, I've been looking for an associate. And we're, like, going back and forth. And I'm like, okay. Well, where have you placed ads? Oh, I haven't placed any ads. And I'm just like, are you freaking
You're just, like, going around the grocery store looking for someone who looked like a chiropractor?
Like, I'm like, well, dude, like... how do you think this is going to work? Do you think that God's just going to be like, here's your associate? I'm like, you have to write an ad.
You have to hire a headhunter. You have to do something.
So yeah, sometimes it seems crazy, but like, look at your situation and like, you know, if you want to lose 10 pounds, maybe start with joining a gym.
Yeah.
Take that baby step.
Figure out a step. Do something and make it a thing that you can, you know, like, you may not be able to sign a real estate contract tomorrow, but you can call a real estate agent tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Like, if it's going to take less than 5 minutes, that's the thing to do immediately.
Yeah. And kind of along the story with that dude, and he was so sweet, just bad at running a business. Apparently a very good doctor. But anyways, so in order for more and different and better to happen in 2020, it will require more energy of you. And like we started the episode out, this is not going to resonate with anybody who's like, oh, I killed it in 2019 and I have so much more energy to give in 2020. Again, make a podcast, tell me how you're doing it. But if you've analyzed those energy suckers and you're looking and expecting more in 2020, you need to look at your schedule and figure out, where are you going to find more energy? Where are you going to find the time and energy to do the work that needs to be done to get a different result?
And if you have a team, this is kind of more of a, if it's just you, it could be, okay, I'm going to delegate this to someone so that I have more time to tackle this problem. If you have a team, it's the equation of your entire team. So it's, do we need another person so that there's more total bandwidth to tackle this new problem? Or is it, I'm going to create this efficiency? Sometimes your bottlenecks are things that you know that you need to sprint for 2 weeks, but it's going to give you freedom the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. Those can be small things. That could be like making your forms digitized and online so that you're not wasting 8 hours a week. Someone's wasting 8 hours a week scanning and transferring files or something. So like those kind of things, if it's an efficiency bottleneck, sometimes it is just nose to the grindstone, work some nights, and you'll get the efficiency back right away. But if it's a big project that needs to be tackled, but you're so busy, creating your Facebook posts or whatever, it might be, I need to hire someone, or I need to delegate, or I need to systematize this in some way, or pay someone so that you can tackle the big thing. Don't let tiny things get in the way of you achieving big goals.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of women, boundaries is a big one when it comes to how are you going to find more energy and time, is we end up giving so much of our time and our resources in helping others and solving others. Mm-hmm. I know that you're currently thinking that is not my problem and that is more your problem. I'm just relating the message of the women listening.
Yep.
That in general, we have terrible boundaries. And I mean, I have bad boundaries with myself. So I wouldn't say my problem is that I have boundaries with other people. I delegate just fine. But for me, I have poor boundaries with myself, and it results in poor discipline, basically.
And I would even say achievers might have that of, if you're the person who wants to do things, wants to take action, knows what people should do, that lends itself to you're running your business and you're on 6 boards. You're helping out in your community. You're a good person and you're a doer, but like if your business or if your family has this thing that you need to achieve and you know what that true bottleneck is, but like, I do have to go to that meeting today. Well, I have that morning meeting the next day and we have this event to run. Like, you might have to step back from something, but ultimately it's a step forward in your life. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just figuring out what those are, because you're not going to magically have more energy. And so you're not magically going to have more time. You're going to have to create it.
Yep.
And it's not going to be easy. Okay. So kind of winding things down here, but we got some serious, like, come to Jesus topics left.
Here's the M. Night Shyamalan twist.
No, because I think you have to realize that not all, and we touched on this a little bit, but not all years are the type of growth that you were expecting. But that doesn't mean that all years, growth happens every year. It just might not look like what you thought it was. You might have, so your goal may have been to increase revenue. That's a big one. That's like the number one goal that most businesses, more money than last year. And maybe you're not sitting there, but you have more clarity on your message, what you want and don't want. Maybe you decided that you want to be out of network with insurance. That clarity, that's a huge thing. That is a huge thing. And maybe getting out of network was a really big jump and you had to swap quality for quantity. But that is growth. That's huge
You're
growth.
more
That's
congruent. You're better. Well, and I'll even share from our business this year. So our new patients were down, and as our new patients went down, we have a value system where we talk about you serve the people who are in front of you, and we aren't in the business of ignoring who's in our building to chase after who's not in our building. So even though we were doing extra marketing things to try and get more new patients or get that back up, in our focus to serve the people we had better, and this is a chiropractor thing, our PVA, our patient visit average, shot up. So if you're not in the chiropractic business, we had much better retention of our existing clients, and they were more repeat visitors because we were taking really, really good care of them. So while our new patient numbers went down a fair amount, our PVA went way up, and now we're in a better position going forward that every new person who walks into our door is more likely to understand and sign on and understand how we can help them. And then when we do start helping them, they let us keep helping them because we really, really focused on that. And if we would have had an explosive new patient year, we would probably be leaking people out the back more. So this year was a year of growth, not in revenue terms, but we learned a ton about our patients. We learned a ton about our team, and we built better systems that allow us to skyrocket in the future.
Yep.
So that was the thing of, it wasn't a year of growth how we would have said it, but I'm very thankful for the things that happened this year.
Yeah, and it kind of becomes a little bit of the obstacle is the way situation where when in 2018 you're looking at 2019, when we look at our year, there's a couple things that I was like, I would not have put that on the
agenda for the year.
Would not have asked for that at all. That sucked. But even though I wouldn't have asked for them, I'm really glad that they happened because it forced improvement. It forced, a lot of people would never ask for an audit. But when they're on the other side of it, they're going like...
Gives a ton of clarity to your systems going forward, to your decisions going forward when people go, we'll just keep getting away with it. And I haven't been audited yet. Once you've been audited, you go like, now I know. Now I have that clarity of purpose. Now when someone asks me to bend the rules, I go, no, I know what happens when I do.
Yeah, those little obstacles, and sometimes big obstacles, they can be a chip in the glass or they can be a huge fracture of the glass. But if you get through it, then, which hopefully you got through it. Hopefully you're not closing your business. But it makes you a little more bulletproof. Makes you a lot more bulletproof.
And if you're in the middle of it, I will say that Lauren kind of mentioned it. The obstacle is the way is a general principle philosophy of you're going to deal with adversity and you're in it. It's happening. You can lament it. You can hate it. You can resist it. But ultimately it's happening. So in the end, you can look at it as opportunity or destruction. And I don't know about you, but anytime that I have dwelled on, you need to process emotions. You need to, feel bad for yourself for a second. But if you live in that, this is an insurmountable obstacle versus, I guess this is the new path. A boulder falls on the path. You can either stand there and look at the boulder and go, there's no way to get through, or go, I guess this is a climbing wall now, or I guess I'm going a different route. And sometimes when you go on that different route, you see new things, you encounter new villages, whatever. But just as a general philosophy, and there's a great book called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, I recommend.
Book drop. So yeah, we need to do an updated, what are you listening to? What are you reading?
I don't think I ever shared my book spreadsheet of
Were you supposed to?
I think I said when we did the 5 best books or whatever.
Oh.
I think I said I would share my spreadsheet, but I haven't.
Oh, gee, nobody's reached out for your spreadsheet?
Hey,
that is shocking.
There are so many more books on there this year. Actually, it's a down year, but there are more.
I was going to ask, have you read less books this year than last year?
Yeah, I think
You switched to reading more physical books.
I read more physical books. I listened to more podcasts.
Like mine?
No, I don't listen to this one. No, but yes, it's a down year for books, but still.
How do you feel about that? I have a really great episode that you should listen to on like when you didn't hit a goal and how to feel optimistic that you're gonna read 200 books in 2020.
I've never gotten close. No, I feel fine. There's lots of other projects and things to deal with this year. It's a good year.
Good. Okay, so really bringing this home then. Now we saved kind of like that last come to Jesus thing of if you have done the work, you did the work in 2019, and you're prepping of how you're going to change and what you're going to do to make 2020 different and better, but ultimately you are not in alignment with your passion and your sole purpose. If you don't know what that is, if you don't know when I say sole purpose, if you're like, what? Then you're going to likely at some point, it might not be 2020, going to have to make a shift and realize some self-evidence.
Some self-truths, some universal truths, some deeper truths. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a thing of when you say it might not immediately become evident. The hard thing is humans have this unique ability to trick themselves, and it can be for so long that you could go a whole lifetime. Mm-hmm. You could borrow money and live a fake life and chase fame or chase status and be surface level happy and indulgent, but deeply not growing as a soul or getting any closer to whatever God is or the universal truth is. You could do a whole life, and you never have to pay the check on that. But it's in your kids, it's in your life, it's in somewhere karmically, whatever. It's downstream. So when we say a lot of times you get the signposts on the way. So if you think you're building a certain kind of practice and you are just running yourself ragged and you're emotionally exhausted and you're not being spiritually fulfilled, a lot of times you'll get checked at a boundary. Something will go bad, you'll be exhausted, you'll have a mental breakdown, whatever. You might be able to fight through that with ego and build something that's not great if you just ignore it and push through. When people say well, God will always tell you the message, I don't necessarily know that God's going to keep hitting you over the head the same way every time. You might be able to fight through it and keep building an authentic life. But if you're listening and if you're trying to listen, you might realize that your goals, the way you're building your business, if it just keeps not working out, that might be a sign to sit still for a minute, listen, and see if there's a whole different path for you.
Well, I mean, a real life example is for many of you may know, or maybe you don't know this, but so this year I, farmer terms, threw my back out 9 times.
And a couple times really bad.
Really bad. So I would wake up and it would start tensing up throughout the day, and by midday I would start having muscle spasms. And I would have muscle spasms for 2 days. I wouldn't be able to adjust. I'd be doing care plans and things like that. And then I would slowly recover over the week. And so I would be back to normal within a week, which is awesome because a lot of people, they might not ever get back to 100%. And then I would go a week or two, and then this was kind of the pattern of the summer where I just kept throwing my back out. And so it was a lot of ego issues of okay, I'm a chiropractor with a bad back. This sucks. If chiropractic works, how come I'm getting this, And so then I went to a chiropractor that does more rehab, because it's a musculoskeletal thing. So it must be a musculoskeletal answer. And so I got some exercises and was doing them, and I didn't have any problems for 2 months. And then kind of energetically took another big assignment on middle to end of October, and was like, all right, now, decided something that was going to require more energy and more time, and was starting to work on that. And it was like, I got the worst spasm ever and ended up needing to go to the ER and get Flexeril, which, again, another very humbling moment as a chiropractor to walk in. And of course, one of my patients was in the waiting room. Like, Lauren, what are you doing here? Just muscle spasms of my back. Don't worry. Chiropractic work. So, what I could do is I could stay asleep. Like you said, I could spend an entire life being like, oh, I must need to rehab this. I need to
need different workouts, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I need to, get acupuncture. I need to switch the style of adjusting I'm getting on myself. Switch the style of adjusting I'm doing on other people. Which ironically, I am stronger than I've ever been. I am doing a more injury. Less injurious technique than ever. I am receiving a technique weekly that doesn't lead to ligament laxity. So like I'm doing all the things musculoskeletally that it shouldn't. So I could just keep going but if I take a step back and go like, it kind of seems like energetically someone's trying to send me a sign that this isn't working. This isn't working. And like my sign is spasms. And I've always said that like God sends me very non-subtle cues of like, you're not in alignment.
You don't pick up on subtleties.
No, I really don't. Like I pictured that week that I was waking up at 5 a.m. and working on, like building the thing, him just being like, Lauren, you're doing it again. Hey. And then he's just like, this bitch never listens. All right, fine. Muscle spasms. All right. And this time you're going to the ER because you didn't learn the lesson this summer. And so that, when we're talking about like, are you incongruent? It doesn't mean like, do you need to quit your job? Maybe you do. It doesn't mean, but it's like, look at your relationship and some of the symptoms or your relationship with yourself and your environment. What are the symptoms that are showing up? For me, muscle spasms are a symptom that is an expression that my soul is not being congruent and in alignment energetically with how he wants me to. Mm-hmm. I could stay asleep and keep just going like, oh, must need to strengthen my core and I probably also need to, but like,
Well, and within that too, I would say, and this isn't true for everyone, but if there's a thing that you're resisting, like if there's a piece of advice is good that you go like, it's easier, I think I'll just, like, if it's like you keep hearing a message of slow down or you keep hearing a message of meditate or you keep hearing a message of whatever, and you just go like, instead I think I'll go do. Instead I think I'll go achieve. Instead I think I'll go work at something else. Like that thing that it's like kind of in working out, the workout you hate the most. Whatever that move is probably the thing you need to strengthen. Turkish get-ups. Fuck Turkish get-ups.
They're so terrible.
I really hate, but like that's the thing of like when I'm building a workout, that's one of the things that I just go like, I really don't want to do that. I don't want to do split leg squats. Probably because you're weak in that and you probably need to...
I don't want to do dynamic breathing. When I asked the Instagram. I said, hey, to your Instagram.
No, you're really old. You asked the Instagram.
When I asked all our rehab, like, I'm like, okay, what should I do to recover from this? Everyone's like, dynamic breathing. And I'm like, breathing? You want me to do freaking...
deadlift or something to...
You want me to do breath work. I wanted like Olympic twists to get your six pack of this. No, dynamic breathing. So yeah. So if you're resisting, that's a really good, dynamic breathing and meditation is what kept coming up for me as like the thing I didn't want to do. I wanted an exercise. I wanted a magic bullet. I wanted a pill to make it easier and not have to do the work.
So if you're listening, Lauren loves to be held accountable. So message Lauren and ask how meditation and dynamic breathing is going.
I know, but I signed up for what I realized is that, so this is where I start to get uncomfortable and be like, oh, we should just end this podcast, but I know you're okay with letting go. So what I realized with my personality is that when something is new and different, I need a program to follow. So with meditation, I spent all of 2019 being like, I really should meditate. I should do that. And then I would do it and be like, oh, I mean, it was fine. I don't know if I did it right or not. And then, you know, the next day I'd be like, oh, I didn't get around to it. Or like, but with running, I don't need a program anymore. If I have a half marathon coming up in 2 months, I don't need 8 weeks 8-week training course telling me how to, because I've done it enough.
Yeah, I was going to say, at one point you did, though.
At one point I did. My first 2 half marathons, I downloaded, like, okay, I should be doing how many miles, and when's a hill day, and when is a speed day, and when's a distance day. And so with meditation, I finally just signed up for and put some money down for a 21-day meditation program that starts January 1st. So I will be, well, I have to actually show up for it. I paid for it.
That's a nice psychological trick, though. That's been proven to work when you actually put money down, or I think there's even apps where, like, you put money into, like, basically escrow, and you have to, like, say whether you've done something, and if you don't, they, like, give it to something you dislike. So, like, if you're, like, a crazy, like, super strong Democrat, like, PETA, like, they go, like, we're going to hold $200 for you, and you have a commitment to, like, go work out every day for 3 weeks. And if you don't, or if you don't, like, check in and self-report, we're sending you your donation to the Trump campaign, or or vice versa.
Yeah.
They'll send it to Bernie Sanders if you know, like, so, like, that's been proven as a psychological thing of, like, having something on the line, and especially having
I would just
negative.
lie. You must have to, like, prove that you did the thing.
I think it is somewhat of a self-check-in thing. But,
by the way, you like my answer there? I would just lie. There's where my integrity is.
The three's chief sin is deceit.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
I don't want my money going to PETA.
And if you're playing the when will Kirby and Lauryn mention the Enneagram game, you have to take a shot now.
We made it almost the entire episode.
That's impressive.
All right. Well, now we got to go to the gym. We got to wrap this baby up.
Yep.
Okay, we hope that you got, if you are somebody who was like, has no negative feelings about 2019 and only sees blue sky for 2020, I hope that this wasn't super boring for you.
If nothing else, store in the back of your head.
Yeah.
Because it's coming. No one.
Oh, well, don't be so pessimistic.
I'm just saying, like, even if you're someone who always grows at 20%, you're going to have a 15% year probably. Mm-hmm. Like, life is long. Yeah. So you can't always just be on the sunny side. You have to be ready.
So, but if you are someone who 2019 was different than you thought, not worse necessarily, maybe it was worse, I really hope that this episode was helpful and gave you some tools of how to look and analyze and learn so that 2020 can be different, because that's what we all want. We all want 2020 to be better. Nobody's looking and going like, now I'll take the exact same or a little less. So that's kind of why the internet won't shut up when we get close to New Year's. Better year.
Yeah, and we'd love to hear from you guys too. Send us what your focus, what your insight from 2019 was, and what your bottleneck for 2020 that you're going to tackle is. It's interesting to hear all the different ways that people interact with the world and what their reality is. Yeah,
send us, if you don't know how to fix your bottlenecks, send us that question.
Oh, yeah, that could be interesting episodes of, because, like, those are the things, if you're like, this is the thing that I've been knowing needs to be done for 4 years, but, like,
can't figure
where do I start?
That's the shit I love.
Oh, yeah, that's where we thrive. So.
Okay. All right. Happy New Year. Oh, we should have had those thing. Yeah.
That's more of an elephant.
Mine was more of a fart. So on the count of 3,
if we do it at the same time,
we will say Happy New Year. 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year.
Was that something?
That was a thing. Love you all. See you next week.
Bye.